This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Solutions. Hope that you can keep them. Jamie, I heard this morning that apparently by the time that you get to the second Friday of the new year, your resolutions are already kaplooey. So hopefully people are able to get a little bit further down the road than just the second Friday of the new year before they just go, to hell with it.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess.
I know you're not a resolution guy, but and I have yet to. I need to do this. I think I may do this today. I need to write down my 2025 goals, especially the ones that I've the carryover goals from last year to this year that I've just that I didn't get to, or that I didn't want to get to, or that I didn't accomplish. So hopefully I can do better in 2025. I'll resolve to do better in 2025. So that's a pretty ambiguous kind of statement. All right, so we'll have hoops tomorrow. And another rare Saturday, I guess, in December when both teams were playing on the road before Christmas. It was because of graduation, but a rare Saturday where both teams are out of town, and you have an empty United Supermarkets arena, at least as far as basketball is concerned. So it's kind of odd, but I mean it's probably better for the men to be out of town on January the 4th because the students are obviously on break, but the townies would still enjoy something to do on a Saturday afternoon or evening. So that seems kind of odd to me, kind of weird to me, but so does playing in Tucson or Tempe and then coming to Manhattan, Kansas. That seems kind of odd to me too when you think about just the economics of things going, Tucson's only a couple hours away from Tempe. You could bus over there and play a game there and then come home, much like the men are doing in Utah this weekend with playing at Utah tomorrow and then at BYU on Tuesday. It's only about 45 minutes apart as far as that is concerned.
Yeah,
so
that would have worked out well, but I guess the powers that be in the Big 12 conference, when they made that schedule, couldn't make that work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you've only got 12 teams or 8 teams or 4 teams to deal with. You got 16 teams to deal with, so there's going to be. Do the
Lady Raiders play at Arizona this year?
Yeah. And that trip, Jamie, you play in Orlando on a Saturday against UCF, and then fly across the country and play at Arizona on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd. Yeah.
It's a little bit odd. Yes, it's just a little bit odd. But hey, that's the way it is. All right, so we'll have high school hoops on the air for you tonight. As Jeff said in the Sports Center, it's a girl-boy doubleheader with Lubbock Cooper playing at Amarillo, the Sandys. Both the girls and the boys will have it for you on 100.7 The Score today. It's an afternoon affair. It's a 1 o'clock broadcast, and then the boys to follow at about 2:30. That's kind of cool that they do that during the Christmas break. I mean, I guess it's probably, if you're a Lubbock Cooper parent, you're like, hey, we just had time off for New Year's and Christmas. Kind of hard for me to get away and drive up to Amarillo, but maybe they'll have a decent crowd for something like that.
Yeah, maybe so, but that's why they are excited they can hear it on 100.7 The Score.
Yes, right. We've got it right here for you. Mm-hmm. Is Amarillo, are the Sandys still pretty good? And on the girls' side, I mean, are they a team to beat?
They're top 5 in 5A in the state, so yeah. Yeah, they're really good.
They always seem to do that. I mean, they always seem to have a team. It seems like no matter what year or what decade,
great program, no doubt.
Yeah. And then the Friendship girls play at Odessa High today against the Broncos. I always find it odd, and I'm sure there's a story there, that Odessa spells Broncos Bronchos. Broncos.
Definitely odd.
How about the Lady Broncos? Are they any good? Or is this a little bit of a layup for the Friendship Girls?
The Friendship Girls got to get not sick, so
Okay.
we'll see how they play because my sources are telling me that half the team is under the weather. So yeah.
All right, 6 p.m. tonight. We'll have that game for you on Double T 97.3. And then later on tonight, we'll have the Duke's Mayo Bowl featuring Minnesota and Virginia Tech. This is always one of those bowls that seems kind of weird to me because it's played after the first of the year, and you're getting ready for the final weekend of the NFL, and you've just come off, and now in this case, the quarterfinals for the college football playoffs, and kind of anticipating the semifinals ahead. But I don't know, it's kind of one of those last bowl games. It's just kind of, and maybe that's good because you have the Bahama Bowl tomorrow as well. Those two bowls, it seems like, are kind of the ones that are the stragglers, Jamie.
Yeah, I think if the Red Raiders were playing, we'd all still be excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no doubt, even last night at the Gator Bowl, there's a little bit of with everyone getting excited about watching the college football playoff games, there's a little bit of, oh yeah, there's another bowl game on, or oh yeah, the Duke's Mayo Bowl or whatever. It's not. But if our team was in it, we'd be all in, right? But
yeah, sure, right? Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
we'd be excited that they were playing, and we'd be saying, "Hey, this is the perfect spot because nobody else is playing tonight. You got the
sure.
the eyeballs of America to yourself. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Those are the
spotlight.
Those are the things that we would be saying. But
absolutely,
it's just general college football fans, and we don't have a dog in the fight there. It just kind of feels like, oh yeah, I forgot there was a bowl game. Yeah.
What I don't like about the Duke's Mayo Bowl is the schmuckery that they seem to make every year of all the different things that they put mayo on, and the broadcasters seem to get kind of caught up in that as well. So that just kind of seems to me. All right, 6:40.
You like the broadcasters to stay on point there, do you, Chuck?
Yeah.
No schmuckery going on.
Right?
Okay,
yeah, Jamie.
let's write that
talking
down,
out of both
Jeff.
sides of my mouth.
Let's write that down.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
On the Morning Drive, time for this day in sports history. Today is January 3rd, 2025. Here is Jeff McGuire with this day in sports history.
Starting relatively recently, 1983, Dallas running back Tony Dorsett sets an NFL record with a 99-yard rush in the Cowboys' 31-27 defeat of the Minnesota Vikings.
That was a good one.
Really hard to beat that one.
Extremely hard.
1991, Wayne Gretzky becomes the fastest and youngest player in NHL history to score 700 goals. He did it in 886 games at the age of 29 years, 342 days, in the LA Kings 6-3 win over the New York Islanders at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Stadium. 1993, backup quarterback Frank Reich leads the Buffalo Bills to a 41-38 overtime victory over the Houston Oilers in an American Football Conference Championship wildcard playoff game that will forever be known to football fans as the comeback. That hurts a little. Not so much for Jamie, but for others.
Yeah, but Jamie's got a story here. I feel like, Jamie, that on this day annually, you should just call your mother and put a smile on her face.
She's currently at the house, so I will apologize again to her today. Yeah.
Say, Mom, this is my annual I'm sorry day. The one big mistake I made in my life and getting mad at you.
I wouldn't say I just have one big mistake. One of the many mistakes I've made in my life was snapping at you during the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1997, Texas El Paso head coach Dan Haskins becomes the 10th coach in NCAA Division I history to record 700 career wins when the Miners edge SMU 66-64.
Did you say Dan or is it's Don Haskins?
Don, I'm sorry, Don. Yes, Don.
Yeah.
And in 2017, trailing by 2 points, Naeem Stevenson found Anthony Livingston, who calmly swished in the go-ahead three-pointer with 4.6 seconds remaining to deliver the final punch of a drama-filled 77-76 overtime triumph for the Texas Tech men's basketball team over number 7, West Virginia.
Good day.
Yeah, it was a good day. I mean, Anthony Livingston, he didn't really live up to what you thought he was going to do, but he helped you that day, right?
Was that the game where we rushed the court and we were punished for having a West Virginia player punch one of our fans?
guys? Yeah.
Yeah, punch.
I think that
Bubba
is this
Jennings'
game.
son.
Slap, whatever you want to call it, took a swipe at, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if that's the game.
I think this is that game.
I think that's the game.
Happy National Chocolate Covered Cherry Day.
Not a cherry guy, so I'll pass.
Yeah. I think chocolate covered strawberries is one thing, but chocolate covered cherries is another.
Well, yeah, by definition.
I know, but I mean, just in terms of my particular care, I think I'm going to pass on the chocolate covered cherry. I like cherries.
Happy birthday, former Red Raider basketball player Jason Sasser is 51.
There's a great player.
And now, former Texas Tech defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter is 62.
All right.
Mel Gibson, 69. Eli Manning, 44. Danica McKellar, we also know her as Winnie Cooper. She's 50. That makes me feel old. Jim Ross, 73. Cheryl Miller, 61. And A.J. Burnett is 48.
Well, you don't see Cheryl Miller much anymore.
You don't.
I thought she was... I really enjoyed her as a broadcaster. She had good energy. I did. I enjoyed her. I like her brother as a broadcaster, too. I couldn't stand him as a player.
Right.
It's like the opposite of Barkley. I liked Barkley as a player. Can't stand him as a whatever clown show that he pretends to be an analyst.
Okay.
He's not analyzing anything. He's just running off his mouth.
Okay.
And on this day, in 1973, a 12-man syndicate led by Michael Burke and George Steinbrenner buys the Major League Baseball New York Yankees from CBS for $10 million. Wonder if that's going to pay off for him. This day in sports history.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, in those days, the Yankees had fallen on incredibly hard times on the baseball field, and just, I mean, they were a mess. I mean, you can say what you want to about George Steinbrenner, but man, he brought back the Yankee mystique and the Yankee ways of winning and a little bit of Yankee arrogance and all that kind of stuff. And
it'd be really cool if they brought back the Yankee way of winning again.
Weren't you just in the World Series?
If they could figure that out, that'd be fun.
Weren't you
That'd be
just
really
in
fun.
the World Series versus the Dodgers?
Yeah, like once out of every 16 years, Jeff? Yeah, way to go.
One title and most losses in the Major League Baseball history on the over here. Weren't you literally just in the World Series?
Yankee arrogance here. We don't compare ourselves to the White Sox, Jeff. We compare
Nor
ourselves to
should
the
you.
Yankees. And going to the World Series once every 16 years is not considered winning ways.
You know, you could make a bit of an analogy, a bit of one, because I think from a business standpoint, they're almost equals, not necessarily equals, but equals in what they did for their teams. But what George Steinbrenner did for the Yankees and buying them from CBS and kind of recreating them is really similar to what Jerry Jones did in buying the Dallas Cowboys out of near bankruptcy from Bum Bright and building that empire. I realize the Cowboys haven't, been to the Super Bowl in quite some time. But what Jerry did with the Cowboys is really akin to what Steinbrenner did 20 years before that with the Yankees, Jamie.
Yeah, similar personalities. I completely agree. There's a lot. that's similar. Yep, with the job that was done of one way or another, taking a franchise that was in a bad spot and taking it to a really good spot, but then at the same time, the egos are massive and all the above.
What was the craziest thing George Steinbrenner ever did as owner?
I don't know, fire one coach and keep hiring him back 4 times.
He called even though he was right, he called the former president of the United States a crook and his star player a liar.
Yeah, hiring a noted, I don't know, mob guy to dig up dirt on his star player so he could get out of paying his contract.
Yeah, he did a lot. He did a lot of.
But none of those are Jerry crazy.
But none of them are drafting Quincy Carter crazy. But
I mean, none of them are Jerry crazy. I mean, they're crazy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But none of them are that level of Jerry crazy.
I don't know.
I disagree. I think
stuff.
if in the realm of craziness, I put Steinbrenner ahead of Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, you're talking about, firing Billy Martin and hiring Billy Martin and, Yogi Berra and all that mess and Reggie and in the free agency and but on the other hand, what he did to rebuild the Yankee mystique and the Yankee image was awesome for him, and what he did to kind of create that billion-dollar franchise, much like Jerry Jones did with the Cowboys.
And shockingly, neither one of them win anymore.
Right. Well, Steinbrenner's dead, but yeah, you're right. But
well, I mean the franchises.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I know. Steinbrenner, he was a meddler. I mean, he was always on the phone to whomever to try to put his hands in things.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Morning Drive. Thank you for being with us today with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to double T973.com for that, or the mobile app. The mobile app is presented by Happy State Bank. Jamie, speaking of Coach Kliff Kingsbury, he was asked at a media event about coaching again, and I thought he had some really interesting points to make, and some of what he shared about what he would do differently. And while this was more related to Arizona, I wonder how much of this also was related to Texas Tech. But he was asked yesterday if he would like to be the head coach again, and he said, "Yeah, I'm sure at some point." And then he said that with a smile on his face. And then he was asked if he would take any coaching interviews in the offseason. He said, "I won't comment on that, but we'll see how it plays out. But I'm very happy here." He said, "This has been an awesome, awesome place and has really helped me kind of rekindle my love for the sport." That's very intuitive for him to say about, probably had been somewhat discouraged with how things ended here and ended at Arizona, and then went to USC to kind of try to find himself a little bit. But I thought that was really a cool statement for him to make, to reveal, because we know that he was really not a guy that revealed his feelings a whole lot. But just what would you think about Coach Kingsbury being a head coach again?
I think this position fits him better, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I mean, if he wants to give it another go, maybe he's learned some lessons and maybe he'll be better this time around. But I would guess working with the quarterback he's working with has been a big part of what's kind of rekindled his love of coaching football again. Because I mean, I think with his quarterback in Arizona, it went sour between those two, and I think that probably was really hard on Coach Kingsbury. And I think now, coaching a guy who's doing great things, but everything you read about him is that he's the guy that's like awesome to the office personnel and the guys that take care of the field, that Daniels is just that good of a dude and that everybody loves him. And so probably working with him, a young player who's open to coaching and is really, really talented and his teammates love him. I'm sure that's really, a lot of fun for Coach Kingsbury, and you could understand why that would make him really enjoy and have fun at what he's doing again.
He also said this, and this is where I thought, okay, I wonder if there's some Texas Tech in addition to Arizona in here. He said, I don't think I set the foundation the way I would do it after watching DQ, Dan Quinn, and how he set the foundation from day one. And it was, these are the standards. This is what we won't compromise. This is what we're going to be. I definitely could have done a better job with that. And once you don't lay it out like that, it's hard to put it back in. It's kind of hard to reset it. So I don't know. I thought that was well said by him, and that's probably, speaks to a guy that, got a job that maybe he wasn't quite ready for, whether it was here or at Arizona, just because of it wasn't that long in the tooth from a coaching standpoint, and being the head coach, and being the head coach is hard. It's hard at any level to go from making suggestions to making decisions. So if he gets another shot, I hope he does, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, I think anytime, no matter what you're doing, you're usually better at it when you have more experience, right? Not when you're past your prime, but when you have some experience, you're usually better at it. So I'm sure he would learn from some of the mistakes he made. But if we were looking at Coach Kingsbury's tenure here at Texas Tech, which is obviously what we're interested in, what would you say the missteps were when he talked about, things that we wouldn't compromise and all that kind of stuff? I didn't feel like that was the problem with this program, although, discipline when it came to penalties was definitely a problem. But it just felt to me like you didn't recruit good enough. Especially on the defensive side of the ball. That was really the biggest downfall of Coach Kingsbury's tenure here.
Yeah, and I felt like, as you look back at it, that he probably should have hired some people that had a little bit more experience
to go alongside him. Yeah, that's
yeah.
It. Yep, that would have helped. Maybe.
I think maybe he hired too many people that he was comfortable with, and couldn't really coach the coaches because they were his friends.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Some veterans alongside of him probably would have gone a long way in helping with a lot of that.
And somebody that was opposite of him that enjoyed the meeting and greeting, that enjoyed the socializing with the big donors, or enjoyed going out and having, the piece of pie with grandma, and all that kind of stuff. And then he could come in when he needed to. There were, I think, too many guys that were like him. There wasn't anybody that was opposite of him. I'm sure Joey McGuire's got some guys on his staff that are the grind on the X's and O's and love being in front of the grease board and all that kind of stuff. And then you got Coach McGuire, he's the face of your program and goes out and he loves that. And he enjoys that. And it's the social aspect of things, in addition to creating the culture and the discipline and all those kinds of things. He may disagree and say, no, I'm in front of that grease board, Chuck. I'm drawing up defensive stuff. Well, I understand that, but I think Coach Kingsbury, like, if you were to give him a marker, he'd be much better with a marker than with a cocktail napkin. That's just him. That's just, I think he would do things a little bit different. Let's see, 7:21 this morning here on the morning drive. We'll have basketball on the air for you tomorrow. The men play at Utah. The tip is at 5 and coverage at 4. The women play in Manhattan. We'll have coverage at 12:30 on 107.7 The Red Dirt Rebel, and then the tip is at 1. They're expecting sleet tomorrow at some point in time, and then turns into snow. I was just talking to a gal in the cafeteria, and I'm like, okay, because you hear these snow totals, Jamie, and you're kind of like, that ain't gonna happen. Their meteorologists are all off on this. The kitchen staff here at this hotel thinks 12 to 14 inches by Sunday. The kitchen staff.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what the big prognostication for the weather here. But it won't affect the indoors. They're not going to play outdoors like they did a number of years ago. The women played outside at Chase Field in Tempe, and then they had to call that game because of rain, because they couldn't get the roof closed in time to, protect the court. People were slipping all over the court, so they just said, "The heck with it. We're going to cancel this game on account of rain." Even though they had like indoor courts like littered all over the field or all over the city, but they couldn't just pick up and go to the next place like you did in junior college basketball one time. Didn't you have to go from one place to the next because the roof was leaking?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So they weren't just able to pick everybody up and put them on the bus and go over to the arena where they probably should have played from the beginning. What is the one thing you want to see from the men tomorrow? Is it just hair on fire defense?
An improvement on defense would definitely be a huge, just a confidence builder after, look like you're just really, really struggling defending the three and just didn't have any answers for them with their offense. So yeah, I would probably lean towards the defensive side as things that I want to see improve dramatically from Tuesday.
I told you about the Madsen twins, who are the two leading scorers. Gabe's at 17.5 and Mason's at 12.3, and then they have two other guys that average in double figures as well. In the non-con plus the Baylor game, they've averaged about 84 points a ball game, outscoring their opponents by about 16. They make about 10 threes a game. Their opponents about 8. They do get to the free throw line. They make almost 14 a game, but they give almost 14 a game. And then from a rebounding standpoint, they've out-rebounded their opponents so far. But so much changes when you start to get into Big 12 play. I mean, you're only one game in, so it's not like you can necessarily say, oh, well, this team is this and this team is that. We'll see for ourselves tomorrow when they take on Utah.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
Okay, gentlemen, we're talking Red Raider football here today. I think all of us would agree that expectations are high for the Red Raiders. Including in that expectation is that you are going to be competing to be in the Big 12 championship game. My question for you today is, who are the top 3 challengers to the Red Raiders?
Top 3 challengers for the Red Raiders in college in the Big 12 for next year. Okay. I think just because they've been a nemesis to you and you've got them on the schedule, I think you've got to put K-State on that list. I think that you have to put Iowa State on that list, and I'm going to include BYU on that list.
Okay. Jeff?
I'm struggling for a 4th, so I may just throw one on the dartboard here in a minute. First 3, Kansas State, Arizona State, Baylor. Baylor figured some things out at the end of this past season and really started with you and had their way with you. Kansas State, until you beat them, you're going to be competing against them in the Big 12 championship. Arizona State, they just won the conference. 4th one
is just 3.
Well, just 3. Anyway, I wrote down 3 because I'm thinking 4 is Tech being the 4th one. That's why I was thinking 4. Sorry, there's 3.
I'm obviously high on quarterback or schools that are bringing back really good quarterbacks. Okay, and I'm, that doesn't mean that I don't think there are other quality ones in other teams, but I'm going to take Iowa State, I'm going to take BYU, and I'm going to take Baylor. Those are the 3 teams. Baylor definitely figured some things out, and offensively, they look pretty impressive heading into next year. I think Rocco Beck just continued to get better at Iowa State. And I think what BYU has coming back should have them being a really good team again this upcoming season. I think Arizona State will be right there, close in the mix, but I do think that Same questions you ask about the Red Raiders. What are they going to look like without Taj Brooks? You can ask about Arizona State without Cam Scadaboo, maybe even more so with them. So I think that they have a big pair of shoes to fill there in Scadaboo.
No doubt. And, as far as Baylor, I mean, they get Sawyer Robertson back, and K-State has Avery Johnson coming back.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that I don't have K-State on my list. I just Avery Johnson got exposed this year. He's not that good.
Okay, but I'm with Jeff though. Until you can beat them, and they're a team that has to be reckoned with. In terms of K-State.
Well, technically, you don't really have to beat them. You might not. I mean, you might get to the conference championship game or whatever, get to the conference title game, and other people have beaten them. So you don't. It's not like you have to go through them.
No, you're right. But I mean,
just like this past year, you finished in front of them.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Scott says this: BYU, Kansas State, and Baylor, as far as his three. Syntex Hank says this, man. Wow. Okay. We should just give up, Jeff. Jamie is a genius, and I agree with him. Iowa State, BYU, and the team we love to hate, Baylor. Syntex Hank, calling you a genius.
Still drinking the eggnog from Christmas or something. I don't know.
You know what some would say is, well, Jamie, it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, you're competing against Chuck and Jeff. No offense, Jeff.
Oh, what are our prediction records for football season? Aren't I in last place?
No, I'm at 8-4.
No, it's Jeff's in last place. But you've had your backup quarterbacks have helped you, Jamie. I don't have the standings.
See, that's what makes me smart is I know who to play. I know to take myself out.
Right.
Play somebody better.
You got Choice in sometimes. You got Brennan in sometimes, and then you come up with your picks that click on the weeks that you decide to play.
Damn.
So you've cobbled it all together to make yourself a genius, according to Syntex Hank.
So are we sleeping on Colorado?
They're replacing so much.
Yeah.
Not saying that they can't replace it, because we know that Dion can recruit and get a fan base energized and all. You're losing so much that I can't put them in that conversation until we see something first.
I think they're the second-ranked Big 12 team when it comes to transfer portal rankings. I think they're a top 10 team as well. That's why I feel like they're going to reload and be pretty good again. They just got the number one high school quarterback in the class and all that good stuff.
And then you got to wonder about Oklahoma State. I mean, Mike Gundy's been really good more than he's been bad or even kind of bad or even really bad.
True, but I would put a lot of teams in front of Oklahoma State right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they went over. Okay.
I know. So, I'm just looking at who you have on your schedule.
I mean, I would put
kind of where the pitfalls may be.
Kansas is bringing back their quarterback who figured it out as the season went along. So, I mean, I look at Kansas and feel like they have a chance to be up there as well. I'm not counting out Kansas State. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sold on their quarterback at all. And I think you guys are definitely scarred for what they've done to us, and I totally understand that, but it still doesn't make them one of the best teams in the conference.
You got a pretty salty road schedule next year, playing at Arizona State and at K-State, at Utah, at West Virginia, and then you also play at Houston, which that's a team that I'm not saying they're going to contend for the Big 12 title, but man, they beat some teams last year too. So I mean.
And we stole their DC and their best interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, right. So, okay, so don't worry about that game.
Hope not.
Just kidding. Right. Hope not. Hope not a whole lot. And then you have home games against BYU and Central Florida, amongst the others. All right, it is 7:40 this morning on the Morning Drive. Boom, boom, boom is next.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you this morning from the First United Bank studio. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that on the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. We'll have Red Raider basketball on the air for you tomorrow as the men take on Utah on the road in Salt Lake. And that game tips at 6. Our coverage at 5. Red Raiders 9 up and 3 down. Utah is 8-4 on the season. Again, coverage at 5, the tip at 6, and then they'll stay on the road and play at BYU on Tuesday. All right, Jamie, Jeff, I've got a Big 12 power poll out. This is from the Oklahoman, the Daily Oklahoman. It's just 1 week in, but I'll give you the top 3 teams, and we'll see if you have any disagreement. And then I'll tell you where the Red Raiders are, and we'll see how you feel about that. So at this point in time, they have Iowa State as 1. They'll play Baylor on Saturday and Utah on Tuesday. Houston, number 2. Houston plays host to BYU on Saturday, and they'll take on TCU on Monday. And then West Virginia is number 3. They play Oklahoma State tomorrow and Arizona on Tuesday. Thoughts on those 3 teams?
Quickly run them off again. Iowa State. Mm-hmm.
Iowa State's 1. Houston is 2. And West Virginia is 3.
I would probably... That was a massive win for West Virginia.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I expect them to be that good the entire year. I am still going to go Iowa State, Houston, Baylor at this point.
Yeah, and Houston in that Kansas game, the first game of the Big 12, they were without 2 starters. So, and they went into Allen Fieldhouse where they previously had not won. So, yeah, it's a massive one.
So you mean West Virginia?
Yeah, West Virginia. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I said Houston, but yeah, West Virginia. But they were without 2 starters, and they hadn't won there previously in 11 tries.
I mean, they're 10-2 on the year, so it's not as if they haven't done well. That was a shock, but it still was a surprise.
Baylor will play at Iowa State tomorrow, and then they'll play Cincinnati on Tuesday. They have a transfer by the name of Norshad Omir, who had more rebounds in his first game, in the first 2 games, than points. 38 rebounds and 34 points. He is the active leader in the NCAA in double-doubles with 75 and rebounds with 1,446. He's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so you want to take a guess where they have the Red Raiders?
Oh, probably about middle of the pack-ish.
9 is where they had them. In their opening week, they had Tech at 6. This is what they say about Texas Tech. What to know is what they call it. Texas Tech coach Grant McCasland is concerned about the Red Raiders' defense. The metrics say one thing, but he sees another. This is a big week to get that cleaned up.
What do the metrics say?
I don't know. That's exactly what I was wondering. I was like, do the metrics say this is a bad defensive team, or
maybe we're going off the metrics of the full season when Grant McCasland is smart enough to know that the competition that they played was not high caliber.
Yeah, because the metrics of the whole season say you're a better defensive team because you've been, including the UCF game, holding your opponents to 65 points. Now, against UCF, you allowed 87, so that went up a tick, but not when you played the number of games already. That hasn't come out yet. And you're shooting 51%, your opponent's shooting 40%. I think Grant McCasland, I think you're exactly right. Smart enough to know that, hey, we got a problem here and we got to fix it. Otherwise, it's going to be not the type of season we want to have in the Big 12, which doesn't lead to good things in the NCAA tournament. So the metrics might say that you're a good defensive team, but the reality of those that watch, and especially those that watch closely, obviously like him, say, hey, we got a problem here and we got to nip this in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you hope it's that simple. Because I don't know that it's that simple, is it?
No,
hey, we're a bad defensive team. Okay, hey, guys, we got to be better on defense. Okay, we fixed our defense.
It doesn't quite work like that, and you got to have some want to, right? And in addition to all that, but I mean, yeah, you look at your offensive rebounds. You got 143. You're averaging about 38 rebounds a game. Your defensive rebounds, you got 311 compared to your opponent's 239. You're out rebounding your opponents from an offensive standpoint by 17. But yeah, those numbers are, and you could say this about a lot of teams. Your numbers are flawed, when you kind of look at it because of the level of competition that you've played. Bethune-Cookman, Northwestern State, Wyoming, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know, and I apologize if I keep harping on this or whatever, but I mean, I think you probably can say it about other teams, Chuck, but I don't know if it's a lot. I mean, I mean, watching the scores and seeing games here in for these Big 12 teams in the non-conference schedule, it did feel like other teams were challenging themselves a lot more than the Red Raiders were.
Okay, so the team that you're playing tomorrow in Utah, their non-conference games included a game against Mississippi State. They lost that game 78-73. They lost that game on November 17th. They lost to St. Mary's of California by 9, 72-63. And then they lost to Iowa 95-88. Those are three pretty quality teams.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet973.com.